So actually, I have a fourth metric to share with you guys that I'm pretty sure 100% of you watching this video right now have never kept track of or never even thought of looking at. And so I'm gonna share with you right now. And that metric is, so this is my forecasting and my predictions and what I want to share with anyone that is doing vintage clothing sales in person, because I think that in the next 6 to 12 months, vintage clothing is going to look vastly different. Like the industry model, like how you sell clothes, what people value, how much people are willing to pay for stuff is like having this huge reckoning post COVID. During COVID, 2021, 2022 period, you could sell so much clothes, everything was flying. People were getting really heavy into the secondhand industry. And now that it has become mainstream, it's it's not special anymore. You can't just sell everything. Like everyone is trying to get into it right now. Everyone's doing live sales. Everyone's doing online sales. Everyone's doing markets. More stores are popping up left and right. So this is how we are moving going forward to make sure that we are building a moat around our business and not only having ourselves be safe in this economic period that the US is currently going through, but as well as potentially even strengthening us going forward. So if you're someone that sells clothing in person and I go over all these points, I'm very, very curious to hear what you have to say, your experiences, your thoughts, what you're seeing around you down below in the comments, and having this be a discussion, because this is a small little blip of the trends that I'm seeing from April of 2026 compared to April of 2025, and just the general trend that I'm seeing in our storefront. So if you're new here, we do not do any sales online. 100% of the items that we curate, that we take in from doing buys in our store, are sold in store only. So I'm not necessarily speaking for online sales if you sell on eBay or Depop or you do whatnot or something like that. But I do think that what we're gonna go over today is gonna be impactful for you and can help you just think outside the box and think a little further down the road to hopefully help shelter your business and help you be in a good position. For those of you that are curious, don't worry, behind the scenes vlog content is definitely coming back. I'm currently in the process of recording this week's behind the scenes stuff, and I plan on doing smaller videos, more frequent videos very soon. I've just been playing around with Instagram content and doing more Instagram stuff, which I might make a video on later as well for YouTube, so stay tuned for that. But so now getting right into it, for those of you that have seen the last couple of videos, in March of 2026 compared to March of 2025, our total gross revenue, the very top line before you take out expenses and everything, we were down 25% from the year prior. That wasn't super surprising to me, again, just because of the state of the economy, how much money people have, rather don't have. And with that, I just made sure to think optimistically, look at all the data that we had, because I have Excel sheets of everything since we opened up the store, of all of our numbers, and just made sure we made the correct adjustments. And with that, in April of 2026, we were able to have our gross revenue from April of 2026 compared to April of 2025 only be down 15%. Now, obviously, still being down is by no means a good thing, and I'm not like jumping for joy at that, but I'm still optimistic and relatively happy about that, because we're changing direction. We're changing the momentum of how things were just going, because think of it like a cruise ship, right? With your business, you can't just change everything overnight and have a totally different business the next day. It takes time to turn the boat around. It takes time to change direction and pivot. So with that, being able to just have a slightly less decline in gross revenue over the month of April compared to the previous month, compared to March of this year versus the March of 2025, very, very happy with it, and I'm very, very optimistic going forward. Now, Gavin and I have been talking about this a little bit, because Gavin does sell on eBay, and he sells things like video games, he sells cameras, he sells hard goods and stuff like that. And so with that, one thing that he's noticing, which is very reassuring to me, because that is exactly what I've been seeing, and the whole process we've been doing with changing our price points, not being afraid of having higher ticket items, but still pricing things very, very competitively, way cheaper than you would get it for online, is that we are experiencing a K-shaped economy in the United States. And for those of you that might not know, a K-shaped economy is essentially stating that, let's say you're someone that makes $50,000 a year versus $100,000 a year. If the cost of gas is going up, food is going up, electricity is going up, everything is going up. If you're making $50K a year, it is a much larger percentage of your income that is being dwindled away, that essentially going away into the same products, but it's costing you more money. Whereas if you're someone that makes 100K a year, 150K a year, 200K a year, 500K, you know, like if you're someone that is making a very good amount of money compared to the average person, like, yeah, your buying power, the dollar is dwindling for you as well, but you don't really have to change your way of life. You can still live comfortably, you can still go on vacations, you can still splurge and buy things. And so what's happening is with this split in the economy, this K shape, the people that have money are still spending money and the higher ticket items are still moving, whereas people that have less money and are kind of getting more put in a position of trying to make ends meet, having no excess income, maybe unfortunately having to spend money on credit cards or spend money with credit cards, they are going to try to find the cheapest thing. They are trying to spend less. They're trying to get more bang for their buck. They're trying to find the cheapest option possible. And so that's where this rift is. And so with Gavin, he has been able to see that because a lot of the things that he prices at 20 bucks, 30 bucks, 40 bucks are sitting on his eBay store, where the things that he's listing that are 80 bucks, 100 bucks, 200 bucks or more are selling very, very fast. So that solidifies this idea of if you have money to spend, you're okay with still buying big ticket items, where if you don't have money to spend, you're trying to spend as little as humanly possible. But at the same time, if you are curating stuff for your store and it's a lot of $10 stuff, $20 stuff, like that very low end, bottom of the barrel, like you might have gotten it for $1 and you're putting it out for $10, you think, oh, that's really good margin on it. It's almost not really worth curating those types of items because it's so plentiful. That's why it's so cheap. We have currently shifted the minimum price point we have in our store to $29. Well, actually, I take that back because we just started carrying spoon rings, which we have at $24. But otherwise, everything in the store is a bottom of the barrel $29. Prior to us making that jump, we were pricing some things at $19, so pretty much that $20 price point. And those things might move regularly, but we came to realize that a lot of people that were buying those types of items, they're usually not repeat customers. They're usually someone that was trying to find the cheapest thing that they still liked in the store. And it just didn't really help move the needle. It was almost kind of like a waste of space on the rack versus if we could have nothing but really great $29 and up items. So not to say you shouldn't have $10 items or $20 items or have a clearance rack or do $5 piles. If that's you and that seems to work for you and you do make a good chunk of money from that, all the power to you. But at least for us and in our region, and especially again, because we don't sell online, everything is in person, we want to be that place where people come and they go, I know I'm gonna find great stuff here. I know I'm gonna leave happy. I know everything's curated nicely. Everything has gone fully expected. There's not weird flaws I'm gonna see later on. Like people are coming to us for a more boutique experience, I guess you could say, a more like higher end experience. So without getting into any numbers specifically, because at the end of the day, numbers don't really matter to you because my numbers are gonna be different from your numbers, but I'm gonna share with you the ups and downs I'm seeing on these different statistics, these different metrics that we keep track of that are very, very important to keep note of. And I want you to see if you are someone that runs a store, sells markets, or whatever it is, if these also seem to be in line with you. So these 5 metrics that were down in April compared to the average so far of 2026, gross revenue, the total amount of money we made for that month, items sold and transactions, which makes sense because if we made less money, we probably had less orders, probably had less items moving out of the store. The amount of items per order went down, which I don't care about that number at all, which I'll go over in just a second, as well as items sold per day. Items sold per day, transactions, and items per order are all really one big metric in themselves, really. As if gross revenue went down, obviously it makes sense that all those other metrics would go down. But really, I'm not concerned with those at all because of these 3 metrics that actually went up pretty substantially in April and help solidify that idea of the K-shaped economy and why we think that pivoting towards that higher priced item is actually a good thing. So the 3 things that went up were average transaction value. So I believe it was marginal. I think it was like 5 to 8% it went up, but still it's a pretty substantial jump because it usually stays pretty stagnant throughout the year. But our average transaction value went up. But the fact that items sold per order went down goes to show that people are buying our more expensive items, and it is increasing the amount that people are spending every time they check out with us. Of course, with us saying we dropped that bottom of the barrel price and everything is at least $29, our average item price has gone up. I believe that number, if I'm just doing rough math on top of my head, is like up like 8 to 10% on the year so far, which is incredible. And I think goes to attest that we really try to, one, have great items, but we're not taxing on them. We're not asking a lot on them. We're not asking what eBay prices are on those items. It's like we still price them very competitively, but we are not just grabbing anything and everything just because it's old, just because it's vintage, just because it's from the 70s or whatever. It's like it has to pass a lot of standards, a lot of standard checks that we have for our storefront to make sure that we only have the best of the best. And having an average item price bump up substantially is a very good metric that we are doing that. And then this third and last metric that went up is absolutely vital for a storefront, I will say. Even this metric can also be applicable to someone that does sell online. But this is repeat customers. Our repeat customers this month were up like 15 to 20% compared to the other months of this year. So not like it went from 20% on average to 35% on average. It went up like 15% across the average of January through March. But what I had been really focusing on for our business for quite some time was trying to get constant new bodies in here. I'm trying to constantly spread the word about our store, let people know what we do, what we have, the style that we have, the price points, all that kind of stuff, and constantly get new blood in here because all the time people say, oh, it's my first time in. Oh, I've been following you guys for a while, but I finally made it in. Oh, I just learned about you guys yesterday. Oh, my friend told me about you guys. And we were trying to let everyone know, come in here for the first time. Some people walk in, you're in for 5 seconds, walk right back out. It's totally fine. We're not for everybody. But letting everyone know we're here, come and check it out for the first time, and then maybe you want to come back a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. So in this period where people are spending less money collectively, having the repeat customer number increase is immensely valuable. If that number was jumping off a cliff, or rather not jumping off a cliff, but just declining in general, that would be a major red flag at this point. Whereas now, when there's more businesses struggling than ever, there's more businesses shutting their doors than ever, people are like trying really, really hard to keep their businesses afloat, having people that are loyal to you and repeat customers is very, very valuable. So actually, I have a fourth metric to share with you guys that I'm pretty sure 100% of you watching this video right now have never kept track of or never even thought of looking at. And so I'm gonna share with you right now, and that metric is the number of $100 plus transactions that we have. So this number in April was at its highest ever in the sense of total transactions that were over $100 at 32, which is absolutely fantastic for us. And it averaged out to about $134.60 in total. So if you took those 32 transactions over $100 and you divided them by 32, it came out to $134.60. So that also solidifies the idea of the K-shaped economy of people that do have money to spend or are willing to spend their hard-earned money for really good quality curation, really good quality items, rare items, and the overall cool, experience, a good time in your storefront. People will do it. People will still spend money with you, and they're not just gonna come and try to find $10 items. If we're all trying to do the race to the bottom of just making our stuff cheaper and cheaper and having sales and $5 piles, it's a losing game because you're making less money per item for more work that you're doing. So I'm not saying you need to track $100 plus transactions, but having an idea of like when people do spend a lot of money with you, maybe you keep track of what types of items they're buying. How many items are they buying when they spend a certain amount of money? Are they buying certain colors, certain sizes? Do you sell mostly one size when you do sell over a $50 transaction? We sell over a $100 transaction. So yeah, we are redirecting the cruise ship. We are making the right direction in this period where people are just trying to be smart with their money. And I'm very optimistic for the future. We've been buying like crazy. It's just been a whirlwind right now. And just whenever I'm not spending time with my wife and son, I'm just constantly thinking about the current economy, what the future of the economy might look like, safe proofing or future proofing or bulletproofing, whatever the word you want to say, our business. And yeah, I'm very, very hopeful for the future. So if you enjoy these kind of videos, let me know down below in the comments. Leave a like if you do like them, and I really enjoy doing them. I might do one of these at the end of every month just to kind of give a recap and to share what we're seeing in our store for you guys. So if you find that valuable, let us know, and we'll see you in the next one.